Well, anyway, you've seen the best part of this movie, so sit back, relax, and have a rotten time.
Welcome to a very special of Puppeteers.
We're Adam Kreutinger and Cameron Garrity, and we're here today celebrating 50 years of Caroll Spinney on Sesame Street. I don't think anyone who watched this show doesn't know who Caroll is. We've asked for your submissions to help us celebrate the man who's retiring from the show after 50 seasons of playing Big Bird and Oscar, and we were overwhelmed by the feedback that we got from everybody. So this is you guys celebrating this person who we all admire. Now, you may not realize, but there was a time not too long ago where there was no such thing as Sesame Street, and when maybe even a year into the show being on air, people might not have known who Big Bird was. And we have a little bit of context to show you just what one lifetime ago the world looked like when they were meeting the golden condor for the first time. So take a look.
These are the crossed legs of probably one of the most famous birds in the country. This is the original bird from Sesame Street. Hi there, welcome to Dallas.
Hey, hi, how are you, Dallas? What's your name, Dallas?
Dallas is the name. What do they call you besides Big Bird?
Well, mostly just Big Bird.
Well, you're one of the most popular figures among the young set. And how does this strike you?
Oh, well, I think it's swell. You know, it's good to have a lot of friends.
You spend a lot of time on stage. Ever laid an egg?
Oh, no, not me. I'm a boy bird.
How do you determine that?
Well, gee, that's sort of an embarrassing question.
Where would Big Bird find a girl, Big Bird? Surely you must have to have company.
That's one of my big problems. There just aren't enough girl Big Birds to go around.
Have you thought about looking in the wilds of Africa?
Well, yeah, but I don't know. It's an awfully long way to go. Way to Africa.
Thank you very much, Big Bird. Enjoy your stay, even here with us in Dallas.
Thank you.
This guy is something else. He says he's never laid an egg on stage, but that could be up for debate before this day is over. This is Jim Mitchell, Channel 8 News on the Move at Dallas Memorial Auditorium.
So that's just a little bit of context for what was going on in 1970, and we've had a lot of you guys send us some really wonderful submissions, and our first one showing the appreciation for Big Bird and for Caroll comes from our friend Jeffrey, and Adam's gonna read that to us.
Yeah, Jeffrey has the unique distinction of building Big Bird's nest. He writes, I was the key greensman for the adventures of Elmo in Grouchland and the Muppets from Space. Any part of the script that was noted as exterior was in part under my design and build. I took a crew into the deep old woods of North Carolina. I found beautiful old growth, naturally braided wisteria vines, from which we wove a big, beautiful nest for our dear Big Bird. When Caroll and Deb first saw the nest installed on set, they were blown away. Caroll came up to me and told me that his nest on Sesame Street in New York was basically a big plastic bowl, and the natural beauty of this nest was very special. The next day on set, Caroll and Deb presented me a drawing from Big Bird thanking me for the best nest I had ever had. This drawing is the first page of my resume to this day.
Well, thank you, Jeffrey, and that was definitely a really beautiful set piece. That was always one of the wonderful parts of watching Elmo and Grouchland, was to see how they made the set even more real than it is on the normal show. And speaking of visiting the set from Sesame Street, our good friend Austin is shown here in this picture performing on Sesame Street, doing some right-handing for Matt Vogel's Big Bird when he was 23. But before that, Austin made a very special trip with his parents and his brother to the set of Sesame Street when he was 15, and got to see one of the last times that Caroll actually performed Big Bird roller skating. Here's the picture right there, and him meeting Caroll for the first time. And Adam, why don't we see that clip from Sesame Street around 2007?
I'll roll it.
No, wait.
Elmo. Yeah, we don't have tricycles. Yeah, right.
Hey, how about this? Let's roller skate to Hooper's store. We'll get there 1, 2, 3. So everybody grab your skates and roll along with me.
Big Bird!
Oh, no good.
See?
Oh, no roller skates.
Hey there! Come here a second, please. Yeah. Thank you very much for your work, man. Everything you've done has inspired me to be a puppeteer myself, and it's uplifting, so thank you so much for that.
Hope you have a fantastic retirement. 49 years is an amazing achievement, and look after yourself in the years coming. Thank you again for everything you've done in that milestone.
Enjoy your retirement!
And scram!
Thank you so much, Toby. That was really great and wonderful costumes and puppets there. Our next submission came from Vinny, who wrote to us with this. It's a tradition with my parents that I get a Big Bird item every year on my birthday. The more recent years, the presents have been a little more obscure, but when I was younger, Big Bird was my entire world. He came on every trip to the grocery store, my first day of kindergarten, etc. I always felt like Caroll was the emotional core of Sesame Street. Such a sweet man who had such a comforting presence throughout my life. The characters he created inspired me to be a much kinder person, and I'm sure that's true for Vinny as well as many of the people listening here. The pictures that were rolling there were some pictures from Vinny's collection, and it's definitely an impressive one at that. So Vinny, thank you so much for sending that to us.
Our next video comes from our good friends Sam and Moe.
Hi puppeteers, Moe Monster here to talk a little bit about Caroll Spinney. This crazy dude named Sam and I got to meet him at the Puppeteers of America Festival in 2015 and at the Museum of the Moving Image. I just wanted to thank him for being one of the most talented, kind, and inspiring dudes I've ever met. So thanks for everything, Caroll. I hope you have a good retirement.
And cut.
Okay. What do you do during retirement?
I think you just nap a lot.
Oh. That sounds awesome.
Imagine we're up in a tree. There's branches and leaves and a bird's nest to see. Sitting way up high, almost in the sky. Imagine that winter is here. There's white on the ground and it's frosty and clear. I can see a snowman and a Christmas tree. Imagine with me.
Thank you so much, guys. And now, Adam, you certainly have some pretty great experience as a teacher and as an educator, showing off some of Caroll's work. Can you share your Caroll Spinney story for us all?
Yeah, I remember when I first started digging deeper into puppetry and learning more about the puppeteers themselves, and I was blown away to find out what an amazing artist Caroll was as well. I had no idea that he did these beautiful illustrations, and the second I saw them, they're just so whimsy and fun. I remember the one of Big Bird on the moon, and there's just so much of his beautiful artwork that was inspiring to me as an art teacher, because I saw a lot of myself in Caroll the more that I learned about him beyond just being a puppeteer. And so I was inspired to make an art class lesson for my students where they learn about Caroll Spinney, not just as the man behind Big Bird, but a bunch of his artwork and how he did cartoons when he was in the service and whatnot. So they learn all about the history of Caroll as a performer and as an artist, and then they get to make their own version of Big Bird. So that we do a directive drawing of Big Bird, and they get to draw him in any environment that they would have wanted, in emulating the way that Caroll would do it in his artwork as well. So it was a very special thing that a lot of the kids have a lot of fun with, learning more about one of their favorite characters.
Yeah, it's always inspiring me. It's always inspiring to me to see the way that Caroll really allows Big Bird to have this reality, and he takes off in flight. And it's the work that you just showed us now with all your students. It must be a really great way for them to learn more about Caroll and also see more about the life that Big Bird could take on in their imagination. Yeah. Well, speaking of the ways that Big Bird could take on life, we wanted to share this video from 2015 that Sesame Street and Mashable did together at the same time that Birdman was some pretty big Oscar bait. So this is just a little bit of fun for us to remember with Caroll Spinney.
How did we get here?
This place is crawling with monsters. Smells like birdseed. I never thought we'd be here for this long. We've survived hurricanes, trips to Hawaii, Puerto Rico, China, Japan, ticklish monsters. How many different ways can you learn the alphabet? Lots, apparently. Maybe we should have done that Raymond Carver play. How did we get here? How did we get to Sesame Street? Doesn't matter. You're the original. A movie star, remember? You can fly. Well, you can't really fly, but it sure feels like flying. So the next time you say, la la la, it'll explode in a million eardrums.
Carol, I am Lila from Germany, and do you want to know which day was one of the most important in my life? It was the 8th of January in 1973. On this day, Sesame Street came to Germany in German language. I still remember the moment my mom said, "Hey Lila, there's a new TV show with a huge funny yellow bird. You will love it." As always, she was right. Big Bird was my hero. He was always nice and good-hearted. A gentle giant. I even tried to stain my feathers yellow. Big Bird, and sometimes Oscar. Well, I love it. Oscar, he was never afraid that someone couldn't love him anymore. Bah! Okay, they guided me through several situations in my life. I love to remember Big Bird's invitation to the Good Birds Club. As you know, he did everything the other birds wanted, but it was always wrong, and so he couldn't get to be a member of that fucking club. In the end, he learned that it's okay simply to be the one he is. Because of him, I learned to be happy to be me. I'm glad to be the way I am. That was when I didn't try to color my feathers anymore. Big Bird, I'm grateful for your wisdom. Now it's time to retire. Yeah, but nevertheless, I'm a bit wistful, and million others too. Dear Carol, you deserve your retirement. I hope you will have many, 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 many happy years to come. As Oscar said, I can feel it in my fur. Well, I can feel it in my feathers. You will have a great time, together with your lovely wife. Thank you so much for everything you did. You made the world a bit better. And you will be forever in my little pink heart. And in the heart of my birdketeer collie. That's true. So long, Caroll Spinney. We already miss you.
Then you know that love's a feeling that's a really good feeling to have. Love is what you feel when you feel you want to sing. Love is what you feel about your most favorite thing. Love is the feeling everybody likes to feel. Yes, love is a really good feeling to have. Yep. When you want to touch.
So that was Big Birdman, a video from a friend Collie in Germany, and some more great fan art and testimonials. And Adam, we have a video from one of your old friends who sent us this.
Yeah, Kevin Williams, amazing puppeteer, good friend of mine. Check out his little video.
Hi, my name is Kevin Williams. I'm from Memphis, Tennessee in the United States of America. And when the call went out to share a short video of why Caroll Spinney is an inspiration to us, I had to jump at that chance because he has been very significant in my life. life. I can remember that my very first television experiences was with Sesame Street back in the early 70s. I'm 45 now, still watch it. And the very first character I can remember being a fan of, getting excited and bouncing for, was Big Bird, the big yellow feathery friend that we all love and was inspired by, to create, to learn, to ask questions, to know that it's okay to make mistakes, and to love everybody, and whether they're a monster or a humanoid or a Grouch, who, by the way, Oscar was instrumental in teaching me that it's okay to be grumpy, but also to try harder to be nice to people, especially when they really deserve it. And then there's Caroll Spinney, whose inspiration to me has always been very creative, to push me forward, and to try to share joy, as much joy as I can with everybody, with puppetry, with cartooning, to bring smiles, to bring the laughs. Caroll Spinney did that for me in my life, and I want to be able to share that with everybody else out there in the world, and hopefully get a couple of giggles here and there, like that. And I really appreciate the opportunity to share these thoughts, to bring my own quick idea into this short video, way too short to be able to truly share how Caroll Spinney has affected my life in positive ways, and hopefully one day I'll be able to do that on a bigger scale for a lot more people, because I want everybody to feel the way that I do, that it's okay to love others regardless of the differences, to share that diversity as a wonderful thing, and to make sure our environment is taken very good care of for our monsters, our Grouches, and of course our big giant yellow feather friends. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kevin. Now our next letter comes from our friend Lisa, who was actually born on November 10th, 1980, which would have been the 11th anniversary of Sesame Street. And she writes, I feel my heart has always been attached to the early characters of Sesame Street. I've always had a soft spot for Big Bird. That unending love and want to make everyone around him happy was always a great model for me. The infectious la 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 could always bring a smile to my face. She continues, even now as a 30-something, I've found that Big Bird is still a great therapy. I can have the worst, terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day, but I'll still queue up and sing Big Bird's One Little Star or Ain't No Road Too Long, especially as it heals my heart enough to move along from one moment to the next and get on with life to make it the best way we possibly can. I can't tell you how much Caroll Spinney's spirit has helped me throughout my entire life and will for the rest of my days. And that's, again, certainly true for us. And we've actually put a little montage together with One Little Star and some of our favorite Caroll moments. So here's that for you.
One little star, all alone in the sky. Do you ever get lonely as the twilight drifts by? One little star, reaching far through the night. Won't you shine on my someone? So we're sharing your light. Oh, one little star, shine on us all tonight.
So we also received a really beautiful poem from one of our friends, Clayton, who this past Inktober did a really great series of Big Bird photos, and all of that was to help the Yellow Feather Fund, which does some really great work in supporting Sesame Workshop and educational opportunities throughout the world. So we're going to read that poem that Clayton sent and also show you some of the work that he did throughout October. So here we go. On many ways you waltz through life with a song of joy in your heart. You sing your gleeful la-las and make beautiful portrait art. On these days, you can be quite curious, asking to find things out. For without adults, you'd think the alphabet was one big word to shout.
That's great.
Yeah. On other days, you wince and snarl at everyone that you meet, and total silence and filth are the top tier things you christen sweet. You really have a heart of gold underneath your moldy hide. You just want to be left alone to enjoy your rubbish in pride. For whether through a cheerful birds and shade of white and yellow, or through an abrasive crabapple type of grumpy, grouchy fellow, you've always entertained us, taught us, filled us with joy and love. So for that, we thank you, for you are a gift from up above. And Clayton, this was certainly a wonderful gift, and we appreciate you sending it in for this very special special.
So we know Big Bird is close to the hearts of all these people, but I know that Cameron Garrity, Big Bird is one of your favorites, and you're representing him now in your big yellow shirt yourself.
And I've got some green down here for Oscar, but definitely tricked out the yellow a bit today.
So why don't you tell us a bit about how he was an inspiration to you?
Sure. Well, you know, for a very long time, if you had asked me, I probably would have said that I was one of Caroll's and Big Bird's favorite fans. And that certainly holds some truth. Big Bird isn't only my favorite Sesame Street Muppet or Muppet character in general, but he's my favorite character. He's my guy. He's when I drift off in meetings, who I'm doodling in the corners of my pages. And up until a couple of weeks ago, I would have probably proudly said, yeah, I'm one of the biggest fans. Until you guys sent us these submissions. And realized that there are a lot of Caroll's biggest fans out there who all have their own stories. You know, Adam, I was born on December 26th, which is Caroll's birthday. And I thought that had some significance, but then we hear from people who were born on the anniversary of Sesame Street or the anniversary of Follow That Bird coming out or all sorts of different things that connect people to Big Bird and Caroll. And I think that's really wonderful and humbling. And that's part of Caroll's legacy, not just all of the episodes and movies that he put out there, but also the fans who are going to keep him alive in our hearts for a very long time. And I had lots of different Big Bird stories that I could have shared, some that I've talked about on the show before, some that I'm sure will come out later on. But the one thing that kept kind of running through my head as we were prepping for this was Sesame Street Live coming to town. It used to always, it still does, come every March to Buffalo, and my family would always trek down to go see that show. And that was like seeing the Rockettes and the Rolling Stones all in one evening. It was a big show. And actually, it's funny, it was one of the first times I lied to my parents was one of the days that we were supposed to see Sesame Street Live. I got sick at lunch, and I knew that if I told my parents that I had, had this little accident on pizza day, that I might not have been able to go see the show. So I didn't mention that to them until the next day, and things were fine. It was just some bad school pizza, but that was what the level of Sesame Street was for me. And of course, the shows, I knew that it was Big Elmo and Big Grover, and it wasn't quite the real thing, but Oscar was always a puppet, and Big Bird was always that bright, beautiful yellow dancing around on stage. So there was something about that was real and that was magic, and to hear Caroll's voice piping through Shea's theater was always something, a real kind of magic. And as the years passed, I realized that it wasn't really him. And as a few more years passed, I realized that the whole thing was kind of an illusion and was kind of not quite real. But it also was. And that was also because of what Caroll made happen and the heart and the soul that he allowed to happen. And it's the thing that we love talking to people about when we do this show and we continue to share puppetry for ourselves and for our communities and for our world. And he's really brought his characters to some wonderful heights, and we're just so glad to have had that and to continue to have that. And so thank you to Caroll and to Deb, and we raise our glasses to you and to
Cheers
Oscar.
to the puppeteers.
Cheers to puppeteers. And for Big Bird and Oscar and Bruno and Picklepuss and Pop and all the characters that you brought. So thank you, and we've got some more fan art coming up.
Anything ragged or rotten or rusty, yes, I love
join in, okay? Okay. Oh, everyone makes mistakes, so yes, they do. Your sister and your brother and your dad and mother too. Big people, small people, matter of fact, all people. Everyone makes mistakes, so why can't you?
And this next letter we have from my good friend Ryan Sargent. Ryan writes, I've been enchanted by Big Bird and Oscar since I was a baby, 25 years ago now. I probably spent more time with them than anybody but my parents and sister when I was a little boy. Sesame Street taught me how to read, how to express myself, how to tell a story. Follow That Bird has been one of my favorite movies for my whole life. There's a song in that movie that includes the lyric, once you set your heart to moving on, there ain't no road too long. It's cheesy, but that statement is part of my philosophy today. Setting your heart to a new goal, a new way of seeing things, is tremendously difficult. If you can do it, you can overcome the struggles that you will face on your journey. A couple years ago, a short film I made it into the National Puppetry Festival. I was invited to see my movie at the festival and attend all of the day's events, including the screening of I Am Big Bird, where I would have a chance to meet Caroll Spinney. I was a nervous wreck, just to know that he was coming. I couldn't even properly plan what I was going to say. All the words turned into mush in my brain. When the moment came, I was tremendously affected, nearly to tears from my own built-up expectations and emotions and anxieties. I was a total mess, but managed to tell him a little of what he meant to me. When we took a picture together, I didn't quite know what to do after that. We didn't have much time, and I still had so much more to say. And then Caroll said, how about a hug? With all the sincerity and generosity in the world. So you don't ever have to tell me Big Bird isn't real. He walks among us. The big turkey with so much love to give that he gave it to everyone. I hope I can bring just a tiny fraction of that magic to the world someday.
Well, thank you so much for that really beautiful letter, Ryan. And your film was really amazing and heartfelt, if we do say so ourselves. And for anyone who's interested in seeing that film, you could view it right here. Well, Adam, I think that brings us to the end of our very first, very special celebrating Caroll Spinney. Again, thank you to everybody who sent us in artwork and poems and letters and videos and all the things that you did. You helped make this special possible. And I think we have some pretty great specials lined up for throughout the rest of 2019. So thank you for spending January 1st with us. And we've got a whole lot more Puppeteers things happening pretty soon.
Well, we hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure to follow us for more information, and we'll probably put some of these pictures on our Instagram and whatnot as well.
Absolutely.
And we look forward to having you guys around for a bunch of other fun stuff coming up for the rest of the year.
And tomorrow we've got David Stevens on for our first full interview of 2019. So don't miss that. We'll be right with you at 7 o'clock. So
all right. See you next time.
Guys.